Hey there guys, GMO73 here, bringing you the second deck profile of the day. This one is for the blue-white Valentina list that you saw me run on Wednesday. This list was designed and tweaked around and kind of coined by Matt Kozmor of Force of Will US and a lot of his pals over at Gamers Gauntlet, so huge credit to them for this list. Really fun. I honestly might not have played it as optimally as some of those guys could, but this is a really awesome take on Valentina. And it uses some of my favorite cards to really kind of take your opponents by surprise. So really excited to show you guys this. So Valentina, the Princess of Love, obviously her J-Activate is 2 blue. And for 2 blue, you may put a water resonator with total cost 2 or less from your hand into the field. So this lets you put in those resonators without having to worry about like canceling from summon spells. It's an ability, so you can kind of get around that. So if you were expecting someone to have the Zeeks or something like that, you can use her ability to put a card into the field rather than summon it outright. The other thing to note is this will not trigger enter effects, but it will trigger when this card enters the field effects. So like Cinderella will still get her counter. We'll go into that later. So Valentina, the ruler of Paradise, is her opposite side. When she enters the field, you take the top card of your Magic Stone deck and put it into your play, so just like Faria and Melkus do. She gets no damage based on when it's your turn, so she can make no damage during your turn. And she gets plus 100 for every card in your hand. And her God's Art is pay 2 blue and pay 2 void, just gain control of target resonator permanently. So she just steals something for 4. Can be very impactful in the game if your opponent's not ready for it, especially since all in all you really can make this move happen on turn, with only 5 will up. You can J-activate and activate her God's Art in the same turn because of that free extra Magic Stone she gives you. So very cool effect, very interesting ruler, and so the deck is kind of built obviously around her to kind of go along with that heavy draw power mechanic. Stone-wise, we run a Little Red the Pure Stone for pumping up those blue resonators again, an Almerius, because being able to give something that doesn't have flying in order to finish the game off can be really good. 4 Light Vapors for blue and white, and then 4 basic Water Magic Stones. Monster lineup, we have the 4 Cheshire Cats. We've gone over this card so many times. It's going to be impactful all the way until, the end of time, essentially, and as soon as Grim Cluster rotates out, play it on the field, draw 2 cards, put a card back onto your field, into the top of your deck. When it can't be targeted by anything, and when this card dies, goes to the graveyard, it gets shuffled back into the main deck. So one thing to note is because of Shangri-La, which we'll go over later, Cheshire Cats actually can be used to deal damage later on. It can actually get very powerful later on, but we'll talk about that later. Now we run 4 Alice's Little Scout. It's a soldier for 200, and when it dies, you draw a card. So pretty standard, can be used for aggression as well as chump blocks. 2 Alice's Soldier. It's a fantasy with Shroud, so it cannot be targeted. Essentially, it cannot be targeted by anything. So that's Shroud from Magic. And then it's a 500, so a really solid, mid-range kind of body. We have 4 Cinderella, the Valkyrie of Glass. So it is a Resonator Fairy Tale. When this card enters your field, you put a glass counter on it. This card gains 600 attack, but it has 1 or more glass counters on it, and whenever it does damage, you remove a glass counter on it, and by paying 2 blue, you can return it to your hand. So typically what you do is you wait for your opponent to attack, you flash her in with Valentina, you block, kill their dude, and then during your turn flash Cinderella back to use her again later. Then here's the thing that you can kind of tweak around. You saw me play, I talked about this in the Meet Your Match, you saw me play these 4 Squire of the Ocean Lady, or you can play Hanzo Hattori, it is Hanzo Hattori. Essentially the main difference between the two is Hanzo has flying and 100 less attack, but is also a ninja, so it plays a little bit better into Alice World. It's really up to you. Hanzos are pretty easy to get, not the holo version, but the non-holo version is pretty easy to get. So it's really up to you what kind of combination, but whatever combination you run, it needs to be a 4 of. You can run, 2 and 2, 3 Hanzos, 1 Squire, 4 Hanzos, whatever. It's really up to you. Then we run 4 Medusas, the Deadeye of Petrification. This card is massively powerful. It's a 6/6. For 1 blue, you can pump up all Gorgons +2/+2. You can play that ability once per turn, so she can pump herself up. The other thing is, whenever she attacks or blocks something, whenever she attacks or blocks something, the thing that she is attacking, or sorry, whenever she blocks or is blocked, not something she attacks. So whenever she blocks or is blocked, that creature that she's going around with gets put on the bottom of your opponent's main deck. This is really powerful with Gleipnir. You can force something to block. Swinging with Medusa, has to block Medusa, gets shuffled to the bottom of the deck. Really easy way to, for free, essentially get rid of hive threats. For Alice, the Guardian of Dimensions, this card allows you to provide protection to your other cards in your field, as well as service spot removal. Plus, it has flying, and it's a 700/700, so that's really powerful by itself. And then 2 Swordsman of the Full Moon, 900/900, 4-drop Were-Rabbit with flying, and when it enters the field, when it has the enter effect of when this card hits your field, bounce target Resonator back to its owner's hand. So very, very good. For Regalia and spell lineup, we run 4 Gleipnir, Binding String of Fate. Whether your J-Ruler deals damage to your opponent or a J-Ruler, you get to draw a card. You can tap, target J/Resonator your opponent controls must block this turn to Fable, and Valentina forces it to recover. If your J-Ruler is Valentina, it forces it to recover. And you can discard another copy of this card to draw a card. So it helps you dig, helps you force those blocks to manipulate your opponent's board state around, and deal with the threats on your terms versus on your opponent's terms. Then we run 3 Sign to the Future. I couldn't find my third one, so I was teching it. I was just goofing around with an Exceed the Light. Definitely don't play Exceed the Light. Play the Sign to the Future. The 3 of those. This is really great when you're playing that early game, because you need to be able to, if your opponent outrushes you, you can just quickly kind of hold back and RFG a lot of their creatures just for a simple 2-drop cost. For Shangri-La's, the Paradise on the Ocean. When this card enters your field, you draw a card. All your water resonators gain +1/+1. And then when you have 5 or more cards in your hand, they all get an additional +1/+1. So this is really huge because essentially, if you have a lot of cards in your hand, which typically you do when you're playing so much draw power, you will essentially, every one of these will give all your water resonators +2/+2. So when you have a stack of them, these simply become +6/+6. Like, that's massive bonuses that can just crush your opponent. And then last but not least, we run an Alice World. The cost of this card, the void cost, gets reduced by 1 for each resonator you control that doesn't share a type with a different resonator. So this is why, we have all of the different resonators of the different types to reduce this card's cost as much as possible. Because when you do that, it makes it very, very easy to play this. And when you play this, you get a free extra turn. You just get to take another turn, just like that. And then usually if you have a well-established board and you swing in, play Alice World after that, take a second turn, you pretty much are guaranteed to win at that point. So this is a very, very powerful finisher. So there you have it, guys. That is the list. Let me know what you guys thought. Again, huge thanks to Matt Kozmor for sending me the list so I could show it to you guys. Let me know what you would change about the list, what you would run different, and like, comment, and subscribe as always. And until next time, this is DMO73 signing off.